Good evening and welcome to this special edition in the brand new Startup Central. I'm Nayantara Rai in New Delhi. First up, thank you viewers for tuning in on a day where all of India has its heart in its mouth, looking at that semi-final match where we've lost a quick succession of wickets. We need a repeat performance of what we saw with Kapil Dev in 1983 at that semi-final match, which of course could not be recorded with the BBC on strike. Having said that, we at ET Now, eternally optimist, continuing to bleed blue. Promise to make the Startup Central a special one for you to not watch that match. We'll begin with WeWork, a mega office space rental company that is going to be making a pit stop at the debt market before going in for a mega initial public offering. Yes, WeWork, we've been hearing about it, is going to go in for an IPO. The Wall Street Journal has put on an exclusive story that WeWork could be looking at raising debt and as much as $3 to $4 billion. What's the point of this debt issue? According to the Wall Street Journal, it'll serve two functions. First, meet the immediate cash flow requirements. Second, take substantial pressure off the IPO itself. Now, if you look at the company, the co-working company lost $1.9 billion in 2018 alone. I'll repeat that, $1.9 billion of losses in 2018. The money from the proposed mega debt facility could be used to restore confidence to investors ahead of the proposed IPO. Experts say that this is being seen as the big lesson from the debacle of the IPO of Uber as well as Lyft. Now let's return home now. In India, we've all been seeing how WeWork has undertaken a massive expansion. It's been mushrooming across cities. And why not? Real estate is still the biggest and the most expensive overhead cost for any business here in India. It provides a big service to all of you budding startups and entrepreneurs. Is it a model that is sustainable? That's the question my colleague Rahul Dayama finds out in this special and exclusive story.
Well, the entire co-working space, so to say, has taken off massively in India, from a few players, international players, to now real estate players also entering the space. They want to not only cater to freelancers, but also enterprises who are largely looking at the space. And joining me is WeWork's India head, CEO Karan Virwani, to sort of take the conversation forward and understand where we are. Karan, you know, when you started off with WeWork here in India, the concept was still very, very new. What have your learnings been over the years when you sort of ventured into the territory earlier? Everyone said it's not going to work in India, people are not going to be adopting this, but that has really changed. I'm told, you're full as far as seats are concerned. You're finding it difficult to really accommodate requests that are coming by.
Yeah, so, it's obviously been an amazing response, one to our brand, but also just to see how the whole concept and the industry, the category has kind of taken off with so many players. I remember when I was first looking at buildings or looking for our first buildings, a landlord firstly didn't even know what I was talking about. Secondly, they didn't want to even sign a lease with a company like WeWork or a startup because, we were looking at large spaces and it sort of became, it was sort of a risk to them. And now, 2 years later, where, like you said, landlords themselves are sort of like looking at the model and trying to venture into it. There's been a massive shift. I think India just generally has always been extremely entrepreneurial. So it was a, very good fit into the market. Also, what we do is build community, and we are, so focused on this, on creating spaces of collaboration and these moments where people can connect. And India has always been extremely, communal in the sense that we've grown up in these building communities, we've grown up in neighborhoods where we share food, we share, celebrations, festivities, all of that stuff. And so it was a very natural coming together of both the market, the population, and I guess what the ecosystem needed at that time.
So Indians, you're saying, have lapped up in a massive way to what the new offering is.
Correct. So, for example, in say Japan or China, it was a lot more difficult for us to get people to interact with one another, whereas here, we're already so, like, noise levels are always so high in India. People are always chatting. And so when you enter our buildings, you always see this energy. You can feel this energy right from the start. So it was very natural for the Indian population.
Got it. But from a WeWork India business perspective, share with us, where you stand right now in the number of seats, number of locations. Where is the business right now, and where do you really look at expanding this? Because the sense is that you want to take a city by city approach and sort of, expand the offerings also as you move ahead.
Correct. So, currently we're at above 35,000 actual desks in the market with, over 30,000 members in the market. We want to just continuously grow and go deeper within the markets that we're in. We're also venturing into 3 new cities. So we're doing Hyderabad, Pune, and hopefully Chennai, maybe by the end of this year or early next year. And the idea has always been, over the last 24 months to see how we can continuously keep doubling our operation and until we've reached a level of scale that we feel is something that we've created a platform that actually is making massive impact. So that's really the focus for the next few years, continuously grow as much as we possibly can with the resources we have and see how big we can make this thing.
Could you talk to us about the customer mix really, in terms of enterprises? Earlier the sense was, enterprises would want to prefer their own workspaces, set up offices, but that's not the case, analysts have also been indicating. So talk to us about the customer mix and the trends that you're sort of seeing out.
So from the start of our operation, we've had a good, healthy mix of startups, mid-sized companies as well as enterprises. We see about a 50-50 mix, so 50% being large enterprises, and we count that as companies with over 1,000 employees globally. And everything, below that is sort of this mid-market and, startup sort of like customer base that we have. What we've seen is enterprises taking extremely well to this product because one is, it's obviously a cost saving to the traditional space. It's less risk or less commitment, as in our leases are more flexible, our memberships are more flexible compared to leases. They have longer lock-in periods there, and so there's a larger commitment to that space. But lastly, and the most important reason people are coming to us is because of the kind of environment they want to create for their employees. Everyone is in this talent war. Everyone is trying to figure out how to attract the best talent,
and also retain talent,
retain the best talent, and really engage the talent that they have. I think it's something about 70% of enterprise employees actually feel disengaged in their workspace. So companies are coming to us because they've seen that we understand the millennial mindset. We understand what this generation really wants. And so what they're doing is, they specialize in building an IT product or financial services, and we specialize in building spaces and culture within those spaces. So they much rather outsource it to us and consider us more of a real estate partner or a workspace partner rather than a service provider. And that's what we're seeing with a lot of large enterprises coming and saying, listen, why don't you just take care of this piece for us? Because we love what you do, we love the environment that you're creating, and our employees love it. They actually feel happier about coming to work every day. And they're being more productive just by that sense, and we're seeing less people leaving the company. And we want to just keep doing this as much as we possibly can.
Interesting. In terms of new product offerings, are you planning to sort of tweak what you already have on offer to accommodate a larger audience really?
Yes. So I think one of the misconceptions is that we're only co-working space. That's actually completely wrong. We're a complete office workspace solution across all facets. So we do stuff for boutique offices, individual offices not part of our shared space, what we call headquarters by we. We have the traditional co-working space, which is again a mix of large enterprises as well as smaller businesses. But we're now doing full custom headquarters for large companies. Companies are coming to us for full buildings. We're doing a completely like managed offerings or managed space, which takes away some of the bells and whistles that we have. A lot of these companies are focused on cost, on efficiency, on creating this great environment. So we just give them what they want. And we've built a machine that is able to design space, build it out, and then operate it with the human element, attached to it. And I think that sort of like machine can be applied into any facet of commercial real estate, and that's what we're really focused on. Also, while being in India, we've realized that value is key. Price is king in India, and actually
Still is.
it'll always be.
Yeah.
And for that, we've understood that the Indian customer actually prefers, in some cases, or is looking for a much more cost-effective solution rather than something that is like a really premium office. So we were trying to see like how do we bring the premiumness to the right price, and I think we've learned a lot of the nuances of the
So
local
looking to sort
market,
of,
and we've now come up with a product that actually gives the credibility and the design and all of the stuff that we like, the soul of WeWork, at a much more value-driven sort of like price point. Obviously it isn't the full product. There's a few things that we've taken out of it or optimized in it, but really what it is, it's about bringing value to the customer that wants value, and for the customer that wants everything more, that is looking for a much more sort of like premium setup, we have a product.
So you want to ensure that you're present across segments and
Correct.
catering. But what would the new price points really look like? Have you decided on it, or is it really work in progress?
The idea is to start almost as low as 5,000 rupees for sort of like the entry level price. But it's going to be limited from between say 5,000 to about maximum of 12,000.
That's the plan. Interesting. Karan, I cannot not ask you about the entire buzz around another tech IPO in the US.
Yeah.
WeWork in talks. What would the India implications be? A lot of speculations that WeWork wants to increase its stake in India. Of course, it takes some time, but what's the India impact really?
So, our partnership is extremely strong. What we built in India compared to what we originally, envisioned is obviously we've done a lot better than, we originally thought. I think the beauty of the relationship we have here is that we get all of the amazing things that WeWork, is doing and like about the brand, but we're able to sort of like build this business locally for what India needs. And India being, a big growth market in the world, we want to just continue expanding here. We've not reached the point where we're starting to think of, any of those things. We just want to keep scaling the business. In terms of the IPO, obviously I'm not, able to speak about anything in detail, but all I can say is that right now there's no major implication into the India business. We just continue on what we've always wanted to do, is like build a massive business in India, and we're going to continue to do that.
But in terms of profitability, is that a clear focus from the start? Because when you started off, of course, it required huge investments in terms of lease cycles, investing into spaces. But when do you think is the right time for you to start focusing on profitability and to sort of get closer to the?
So we've always focused on it. We always definitely have an eye on profitability. It's not that we go into a building and similar to e-commerce where you're sort of spending money
You're not burning a lot of cash,
to acquire customers or whatever it is. The way we always operate each building is with EBITDA and like profitability always in mind of how quickly can we reach that point. So it's always a good balance between growth and profitability. So sometimes we think that we need to go faster, so we start going faster and take a little bit of a backseat on profitability. But as soon as we've hit that scale, we know that now we need to get profitability up because we've created the scale. And so it's just a cycle that we're continuously in. So if you look at a building like this or any of our buildings that have been open for longer than 6 to 12 months. They're extremely profitable. They actually generate a lot of cash flow, and that helps us actually put it back into growth and continuously keep expanding our operation. And for that reason, we've not taken any we've not raised any equity. We've been investing our own capital into the business as of right now, and that's purely because of how powerful the actual business and the cash flow of the business.
But your eye has always been on profitability, so continue.
It's always a balance between growth and profitability. It's a conversation we have constantly, and I think it's healthy the way that we're doing it. We hope to become actually corporate level profitable by sometime next year. But again, we might decide to continue, to expand growth again, and then we're back into the same cycle. So yeah, it's always on the lookout.
Interesting takeaways. But Karan and we are discussing this. It's also become a very crowded space, right?
Yeah.
Real estate players, listed ones at that, have realized they want to invest. A player like Oyo is also eyeing the space. So what would really be the key differentiator going ahead? The fact that now there are multiple players sort of vying for the same market.
So, from the start, I've always been saying that it's actually good that there's more people coming into it, because it actually, institutionalizes the whole concept, the category and things like that. But that being said, there is a low barrier to entry into the business, but there's a very high barrier to entry at scale. And you will see that only a few players will actually be able to compete at the level and at really large pan-India scale like we sort of aim to. And I think the differentiator that we've always focused on is that we're much more than co-working, we're much more than a co-working space, right? What we're trying to build is a global community, and the community in India is a big part of that global community. So if you ask any of our members, what they really get advantage of and why they really stay in our space for as long as they're staying, is because of the connections they've made with other members. It's because of how, being at WeWork has changed the mindset of how they were looking at their business. It's about the connections that, or the boundaries that they've been able to break, whether it's, moving from being a local player in Bangalore to now being able to service like Mumbai, Delhi, Pune and all of that through the ecosystem, or even being a pan-India player and actually becoming a global sort of organization where you're able to leverage the network as much. So our community is our soul, it is our differentiator, it is the biggest focus that we always focus on, and that's why we're not so worried of whether these companies are within our shared space. As long as they're within the WeWork platform and we're able to give them their own space, or we're able to do something large for a large enterprise, but they're connected through our digital platform and through the larger community. That is our differentiator. That's always going to be our differentiator, and that's always our focus.
Okay. One last thing before Karan, I let you go. As an entrepreneur, what has been your biggest challenge in sort of setting up WeWork and scaling it up here in India? What's that one big challenge?
It's a challenge, and I think it's also been the biggest learning is being adaptable. In this sort of environment, in creating something new, you can never foresee what is going to happen. I wouldn't have been able to foresee how big the whole ecosystem would have gotten this quick with competition or with other players doing it, the product evolving and what everyone else is evolving, everyone else is offering evolving into. So I think adapting and being able to localize and being able to really understand what the market needs and sort of keep pivoting the business as and when it requires to do that has been, it's been the most fun and also sort of the most challenging.
And then of course the biggest learning that you've had.
And the biggest, yeah, it's been amazing learning. I can't.
Works. Look forward to meeting you again when you scale it up further. Wonderful chatting with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, that's the WeWork India CEO, uncut and candid, joining us on Startup Central from Bengaluru. Tell us what you thought of that interview. Tell us if you use WeWork, do you see it as a sustainable business model? Write to us at startupcentral@etnow.tv. I'm also on Twitter. My Twitter handle is at Nantara Rai. And why just stop there, folks? Stay in touch with us. You can write to us to tell us what you want to see on the show, what you don't want to see on the show. Tell us, give us your feedback on what you have seen. Even pitch to us to get a chance to be a part of Startup Central. Now, from being a Delhi boy to being one of the top 10 richest Indian celebrities, the Badshah is also a very savvy investor. We're going to end Startup Central with King Khan. If you have him on the show, there's no other way to end Startup Central. My thanks for watching today.
For an industry where the favorites keep changing every season, it's remarkable that Shah Rukh Khan has managed to reign supreme for over 25 years now.
I just act to be famous. I just be in a movie to be famous. I just walk and I breathe to be famous. I just have to be famous.
His charisma, sharp wit and gift of the gab makes him a huge influencer, online and offline. While Shah Rukh Khan is among the richest actors in the world, his fortunes vary every year, depending on how his films and productions fare. According to Forbes India, his projected income for 2018 was an estimated 56 crore rupees, compared to 170 crores in the previous year. So, where does Shah Rukh Khan make his money from? Shah Rukh's primary source of income comes from movies, where he charges 40 to 50 crores per movie. He invests his own money in his productions, making it a high-risk, high-reward venture. His endorsement fee for brands was estimated at 3 to 4 crore rupees a day a few years back, and he's known to charge in crores for wedding performances as well. Prominent brands endorsed by SRK over the years include Hyundai, Nokia, Pepsi, Dish TV, Nerolac and Jaguar. Shah Rukh owns Red Chillies Entertainment, a production house with a visual effects subsidiary. Netflix is also tied up with Red Chillies to acquire and produce original content. He has invested in at least 3 cricket teams: the Kolkata Knight Riders, Caribbean Premier League's Trinbago Knight Riders and Cape Town's Knight Riders. He is a minority investor in the Indian franchisee of Kidzania, a children's education and entertainment venture. SRK's prized possessions include properties in Mumbai, Dubai and London. His Bandra home, Mannat, has an estimated market value of 200 crore rupees. He also has a fleet of luxury cars from the Bentley Continental to Rolls-Royce, Bugatti Veyron and a custom-designed vanity van. With plans to build a studio and a world-class stadium in the coming years, no dream is too big for the Badshah of Bollywood.